Hi, folks.
Hello.
How's it going? Good. So, anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, Crown Indigenous Corporation. Explain a little bit more about how you see it working. How do you think this helps speed up projects by getting consent buying right from the get-go?
As we try to Trump-proof our Canadian economy, one of the big questions is how can we get things built at all, but also more quickly? And I think this approach that we're proposing with the Crown Indigenous Corporation, it's just about making sure that there's a strong relationship and partnership at every step of the way. And I'm a big believer that that will allow us to build big things in Manitoba. And so, I think part of what we're trying to do here is to just change the conversation away from being one of like barriers and risks and lawsuits, more towards how do we make money for everybody? How do we create jobs for everybody? We know we got this great opportunity with Hudson Bay, with the Port of Churchill, and the Crown Indigenous Corporation is Manitoba's approach to doing things different, to try and get these big things built by having Indigenous people participating every step of the way.
Do you feel this would satisfy things like duty to consult?
There's always going to be a need to build the relationship every step of the way. The thing that we're putting forward with this Crown Indigenous Corporation is by the time you end up in a courtroom on a big project, you've already lost. And we're trying to say there's another path here, which is to say right from the very beginning, right from the earliest steps and through every step of the way, we're going to be in partnership, working together, and we think that that's the path to making sure something gets built and hopefully built quickly too.
What if a community says no?
What if we say no?
At the end of the day, I'll use Bipole 3 as an example.
No, please don't. Let's get it.
So obviously Manitoba
Steve
Hydro,
like that.
Manitoba Hydro wanted to do what it wanted to do. The Premier of the day said no. At the end of the day, though, you are still, the government would still have final say on anything, correct? Even though this is a Crown Corporation.
Well, no, it's slightly different from the other Crown corporations, right? Because with Hydro, with Liquor and Lotteries, with MPI, we appoint the board as a province. In this instance, we only appoint half of the board. The other half is appointed by Indigenous governments, and so we can't push through something. When it comes to the Major Projects Office, so every time Prime Minister Carney comes out and talks about the Major Projects Office, everyone gets excited because it's like, these are the projects that are moving forward. We've been working with the Major Projects Office on the Churchill opportunity as the provincial government. As the Crown Indigenous Corporation continues to get stood up, the board members get named, we're going to hand off the baton to the Crown Indigenous Corporation. The Crown Indigenous Corporation will be the entity leading the conversation with the federal government through their Major Projects Office. So where the federal government has set up their process with C5 and with the Major Projects Office, this is us setting up our process. And it's going to lead to more jobs, more money being made by Manitobans, including by people in some of the poorer communities in our province, so that hopefully a rising tide lifts all boats.
Is there any correlation with the Indigenous Advisory Circle, or that's going to work together at all? Is there any problem?
Well, yeah, like the federal Indigenous Advisory Circle is the federal process. I know a lot of the people on it, and I think they're great people. At the same time, I think they missed an opportunity by not having First Nations representation from Manitoba. For our approach with the Crown Indigenous Corporation, we're saying we want all those Indigenous nations in Manitoba to be there together. It's not every day that the Manitoba Métis Federation and First Nations governments will work together. There have been examples of this in the past, but we think bringing everyone together, working together at the same time from the very beginning, that is the way to move forward with success and to build our economy.
How many people on this board?
Right now we're looking at 12 total, so it would be 6 and 6, if you will.
Then one representative from, I guess, the 6 community nations.
Yeah.
Tonight,
More or less, we're still working through a lot of those details.
tonight there's going to be a meeting on the supervised, whatever you call it,
Supervised consumption
Yeah,
site is
some
what I
people-
use.
sure,
Yeah.
Some people are obviously going to show up there not wanting it. What do you want to say to people who have, don't want it where it is or don't want it?
Well, supervised consumption site is like it's like Buckley's cough medicine. It tastes awful and it works. So this is something that when people hear about it, at first glance maybe you don't like it, but the experts, the doctors who study addictions medicine are telling us this can save lives and this can connect people with treatment, with healthcare. This will help us prevent babies from being born in the province with completely preventable illnesses like HIV. And so I'm asking people, because we're going to be flexible. We've changed the location already. We've added another consultation session. We're going to continue to be flexible. I'm asking people to be flexible too here. We know we need to take action on drugs. We're doing the law enforcement. We're doing the prevention. We're doing the treatment. We need to have this piece according to the experts too.
Are you having a third? I just want to make sure I got the math right. So
We are adding a third consultation. We have the ones that were previously announced. Even prior to, just over the weekend, we heard from community who are saying we need more time. Businesses, we need input. So the session that we're adding is specifically for businesses in that Exchange District, Chinatown area to hear their perspectives, concerns, what do we need to address. I believe that session is scheduled for Monday. And so we'll see how the session tonight goes. We'll see how the other online session and the business session goes. And if there's a need for more, like if there's 800 people at one of these and not everyone gets a chance to speak, then we'll add further sessions.
Are you still hoping to open this next month? Or
I am, but given the fact we're extending the consultation, I think, we're realistically also willing to delay opening maybe by a few weeks, hopefully. That would be enough time to address the desire for people to weigh in and also for us to respond to what we hear, because maybe there are things that we hear in the consultation that we're going to have to address that would affect the timing as well too. Obviously we're going to address all the issues people bring forward as best we can, but some may actually affect an opening date.
And it's got to go somewhere. This is away from schools and daycare centers and an area that's not largely residential. Right?
Correct.
Is there a better site, or is this pretty much check all the boxes in terms of the community site?
I think this site makes sense from what we've been hearing from Manitobans to date, which is that people support the idea of a supervised consumption site. They don't want it near a school or daycare. They don't want it in a really residential area. It needs to be close to the epicenter, which is basically North Main of the addictions crisis. So this does tick a lot of those boxes, but given what we've heard from business and community, we are going to take that time to spend more sessions listening and then see how we can address the concerns brought forward.
And I wanted to ask, downtown, businesses have left downtown, people have left downtown. The city has spent a whole lot of money in the last few years to bring people back. Do you think setting up a safe consumption site, as you mentioned, in the epicenter will just counter those efforts and businesses might not return?
Well, the reason we're doing it is because we think it's going to help downtown and the province. Right now, we have visible signs of the addictions crisis all throughout the downtown. If we have a site in a non-residential area that's away from the sort of sports, entertainment, bar, restaurant businesses that a lot of people from different parts of the province frequent, could it maybe pull people in that direction? Could we maybe see a broader impact on safety? Perhaps. The main reason we're doing it is because of health. We have children being born in this province with STBBIs like HIV. Should be entirely preventable in a rich country like Canada. The only reason it's happening is because of intravenous drug use, whether that's meth or opioids or synthetic opioids. And so the supervised consumption site is one way to say, hey, you know what, you're using drugs, but can you come in and get a pregnancy test? Can you come in and talk to a doctor or a nurse practitioner? And when we think about it on that level, I recognize that people might be uncomfortable with the idea, but I also want to keep encouraging people. We have to look at the bigger picture of the health needs of what's happening in our communities, of the safety needs in our communities. And this is something that was part of our election platform. This is something we were elected to do.
What will it take for you to reconsider the site?
I mean, you're on the path of me slowly walking back an election commitment, if there ever was one, I would say. I'm not walking back from the commitment today, but delaying and doing extensive consultation and taking more time to listen. I don't know, probably what it looks like.
Okay. The 46 grocery store profit interest. How is this percentage associated with the
Yeah, so we had passed this Bill 31, which is to break the property controls and have more competition for grocery stores and hopefully better grocery prices for you at the end of the day. When we passed the law, there were 66 of these at the property registry. As of the deadline on Monday, 20 of those were dropped. So already we've seen about a third of them removed voluntarily. The law then gives anyone, you, me, a minister of the Crown, a competitor of one of these grocery stores, the ability to challenge these property controls, and they could be overturned if it's in the public interest. I think there is a strong public interest to say grocery prices are too high and we need to break these property controls so that there could be more competition in the grocery sector in Manitoba. And so just to get the ball rolling, I've asked our minister to lead that process, and we think that the independent adjudicator will hopefully see that there's a public interest in having more competition when it comes to grocery prices.
1.8 million in U.S. alcohol sold. I thought the goal was around 1 million. Do you have a new target now? And how much of this U.S. alcohol will be sold that we have in store?
Yeah, well, someone in my staff, I stole their joke, and they said the only thing more popular than taking U.S. booze off the shelves was putting U.S. booze back on the shelves. I do want people to buy local. I want us to support the Canadian economy and our local economy, but Manitobans have really responded to this idea of buy that bourbon or buy that California wine and see the money go to charity, as well as the other proceeds to liquor and lotteries. So I think we're just going to take advantage of this opportunity. So far what we've seen was just the sale to private stores, rural liquor vendors, places like that. And tomorrow, given the fact we've announced this and there's been interest, I think we do need to follow through with the next step, which is opening up those sales to the general public so that you can go down to the Liquor Mart and support charity and get that beverage of choice, shopping local along the way too. I think we're just going to expand the pilot, if you will.
A new limit, I guess, on how much you're willing to sell?
Well, we're capped by what we have in stock, I would say, first and foremost, which is about 8 million, if I recall correctly. But I don't have a specific number to share with you right now. We can get back to you if there is a hard and fast number.
And a lot of the money goes to charity. I think it was about 50-50 based on the initial breakdown. Looking at the Crown directive, it sounds like the rest goes into the consolidated fund.
Well, this is liquor and lotteries, their net income. And they've been great to work with in terms of stepping up and doing this quickly and recognizing that within half a day, Manitoba businesses had bought almost double what we had expected. So there's definitely a demand here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you.
Yeah,
for sure.
En français.
Ouais.
Est-ce que vous pourriez commenter à nouveau du coup en français l'extension du plan Chartrand?
Ben, il y a une opportunité excitante avec le port à Churchill. Et pour nous, nous croyons que l'opportunité sera mieux réussie si nous travaillons avec les Premières Nations et les Métis du début.
Merci. J'ai une autre question.
Ouais.
Par rapport à la francophonie, les points n'ont pas été abordés lors du
Ben, je pense qu'on est en le processus d'avancer ce projet et je pourrais partager les détails avec vous plus tard. Je pense qu'on a une date. OK, à bientôt.
Chief Kyra Wilson, or she just has a few minutes. So, yep, we're running.
Thanks for waiting. Appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Hello.
Hi. We could probably look forward and ignore if people ask you questions on the side.
Yes.
This new Crown Corporation, do you feel this would satisfy a lot of the issues around duty to consult?
Well, there's an obligation from all levels of government, just in terms of the duty to consult. So, regardless of some of the work that's happening right now with the Manitoba Indigenous Crown Corporation and the discussions leading up to where we are today, there is still that duty to consult for every First Nations community within Manitoba.
Manitoba First Nations left off the federal government's Indigenous Advisory Circle. Does this, Manitoba stepping up in creating this corporation, does this show the right direction of how to do things? And do you think the federal government should reconsider, or is this something, focused here in Manitoba?
Well, of course, First Nations leadership need to be, heard. Their voices need to be heard. And so when we look at all of the work that we've done up until this point, we still have a lot of work that needs to be done. We need to make sure that all of our First Nations leadership feel confident in the Manitoba Indigenous Crown Corporation. And so right now we are still doing that work as First Nations leadership and ensuring that everyone's voice is heard at the table, and what the creation of this Crown Indigenous Corporation, what that will look like.
The model the Premier described of who would be involved, 50-50 on the board, what did you make of that?
Well, First Nations people, First Nations leadership, we are the first peoples of the land here in this country. And so when we think about the discussion that's happening regarding the lands and resources of Canada, First Nations voices need to be heard, and they need to be recognized and respected. And so right now we are making sure that regardless of who's sitting on whatever advisory council, we have representation here in Manitoba with 63 First Nations chiefs and communities, and they need to be in the forefront with any decision making when it comes to lands and resources here in Manitoba.
How would those members be chosen for the board? Do you have a sense of that yet?
No, we are definitely having conversations at the table with all of our leadership and what the involvement and what the participation is going to look like. As I had said, we have a lot of work that needs to be done, and making sure that everyone's on the same page and making sure that First Nations leadership are feeling confident in this process.
The Premier seems to say that you've expended some political capital on this event. You're talking to community leaders and trying to get them on board. What is it about this initiative that has you on board? Why do you believe in it?
Well, it's a new initiative in terms of the engagement with the provincial government and First Nations leadership, and we always hear, the government-to-government discussion and relationship that needs to happen. And so I feel that there is some really great opportunities right now for First Nations leadership and the communities that they represent. And so my hope going forward is that this will be a new beginning of how the province of Manitoba will work with First Nations leadership.
And if done properly, do you think this will send a message to us to be about how it's going to work?
Definitely. In this process, what we do see is that treaty implementation and having the First Nations leadership and their voices being respected. And right now, with this process, we've been able to figure out what that relationship would look like and could look like. And so we're just grateful that we have a government here in Manitoba that is willing to listen to our leadership and sit at the table and make sure that their voices are being heard.
Chief, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
David was way over there. Oh, here he's coming.
Let's go talk to President Chartrand. He's coming over.
Yeah, we just, sorry, give us a second. Merry Christmas. How are you? Hi, it's been a long time. Yeah, how are you? Good. Hardwiring? I'm good. You're good? Okay, thanks, Tom. Thanks. I'm going to ask the same question. Do you think this could solve a lot of the issues around duty to consult this corporation, Crown Corporation?
Without doubt. This sets I think, a real learned position by other provinces to look at Manitoba, see the innovation of how we overcome years upon years and years of consultation when we can be at the front end of the process and eliminate those years upon years. It's good for business, good for the business community to realize that we could fast track initiatives much quicker. And I think there's the conception I've been taking a lot with my citizens throughout is this. We have an economic war happening, and we've got to take it seriously. You know, we've never seen the tariffs hurt us yet to the degree that we should all be fearful of it. But when a recession does come or the tariffs continue to do damage, you see another threat from Trump yesterday. So from our perspective, this will hopefully eliminate the need for both Canada and the business community to commence immediate action and planning, and knowing full well those investments, whether from private sector or public sector, will comfort those that are going to put out. And let's remember what the Premier just said. You're looking at $30 to $50 billion. So it's going to change an have-not province to a have province very quickly. And the business community must be smiling inside their room today. They have to be. Because as Indigenous, as Métis, for example, Red River, we don't have those size of magnitudes of businesses to go and build these things, build these roads and infrastructure to the degree that you would need. Inside that room was big construction companies that would obviously be the winners of the opportunities that would come with this investment. So it will definitely be a great opportunity for the business and the government and our own Indigenous governments to overcome some of the longevity of consultations that would hold us back.
What if, some of the questions to my colleagues ask, what if on this board or PMF, this person says no, that person, like, how do you get buy-in, even within one Crown Corporation? Because the board's going to be 50-50, there's going to be different people on it. How do you get the buy-in?
Well, that's a very good question, because we had the same questions ourselves. So, a very good question. But when you look at the structural design, the province will have 50, and then the Indigenous governments will have 50. But common sense should also prevail. I think common sense, at the end of the day, there'll be concessions, I'm sure, from either side, whether it's our side or the First Nation or the government. Because if we're there for the right reasons, I'm there for one reason, is to make Manitoba a have province, make Manitoba an opportunity. As the Premier said, and this is important, I've been echoing this to the Prime Minister myself directly, like this chance that we have, Manitoba, there's no other project, national project of interest that Canada would come and invest. This is the opportunity that's once in a lifetime for us. If we miss this and it rails right by us or sails by us, we have made this province a continued have-not province. It is up to all Manitobans and us to play a responsibility role here and do our part. So from my perspective, I am 100% behind this initiative. I believe this is not just this partial of it, because behind this, national defense is coming right behind. National defense is going to spend billions upon billions. Now, if Churchill is the investment, well, guess what? National defense is going north. And they're going to have to go to Churchill or towards to Nunavut. So they're going to need the system that we would build, whether it's the roads, the ability for ships to come in there, on and on and on. The national defense would need that. At one time, it did have national defense investment in Churchill, and it'll not only bring 30 to 50 billion, it'll also bring national defense upon billions more into our opportunity in Manitoba.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.